Hi everybody, it's Jen and I am here with the ASC Supplies Design Team project, and I'm starting here with the base for an 8x8 by 3 inch spine. Let me double check that. I think it's 3 inches. Yes, 3 inch spine mini album. So I've done lots of videos on how to do this. It's an 8x8 and two 8x8s and a 3x8, and you wrap it up. And we're going to do the stack the page system. So on this spine, once you get it in there, you're going to take a piece of paper that's 7 by 7 3/4, and that's just to cover your spine. And we're going to use some score tape along the outside, which I have lots of different size score tapes, but right now all I have is the 1/4 inch up here. So we're going to use 1/4 inch score tape around the outside and on either side of the spine. And then we'll fill the rest with ATG because so I'm working on my lighting. I'm hoping that it's better. I had to move some stuff around. I may eventually just get some lighting that hangs from wall to wall in here. Okay. And then we're going to put some score tape on either side of the valleys here. Make sure that everything on either side and around the exterior of that spine piece gets covered with score tape, a nice strong adhesive. And then there's other things that hold it on too, so it's not just primarily I could have put that on the inside, but we'll just cover it up. That was my intention. Okay. I'm gonna do some liquid glue there. And all this does is covers up the valleys there with the score tape in them, because we're going to cover up the chipboard with other paper. Take the backing off. And we're going to do this page by page again, so hopefully it's not too boring, but I'll try and get the videos up quicker in succession, just in case somebody's trying to follow along. Okay, and just try and straighten it up a little bit. Start at the middle, press it down, and then I'm just going to grab my old bold bound folder and go out. When you get to the creases for the sides, kind of dip down in, push in and out. My mini albums tend to take a lot of cardstock, just so you know. I'll show you what I use in case you're curious. get my cardstock at Michael's, and I just start with a pack of 25 12 by 12s. And then I have some 8.5 by 11s left over. So 65-pound cardstock. And I've been doing this for a while. Never had a problem. Okay, and we bend that up. We make sure that those valleys go down and don't stick up so that it looks like a normal album. If you want to put a closure on your album, now's the time to think about it, depending on what you want. If you wanted like a ribbon closure that goes behind the paper, now's the time to do it. But we're not going to do that right now. So let's make some page gussets here. I take my 12 by 12 paper. We're going to do, let's go ahead and do the stack the page system again. And our pages are going to be 7.5. So we're going to cut to 7.5. Remember, I'm starting with a 12 by 12 piece of paper. And then you have a 3+ inch spine here because of what got added. And you can make this bend or this fold wherever you want, depending on what size pages you want. And that's what the stack the page system. That's what the stack the page system's all about. Your pages, you want them to be at least 7.5 inches long, like for the majority of them. But with this system, if you make them 7.5 inches long, the first page is only the first page on the other side, so it would be the last page of the album is only going to be like 1.5 inches. So I'm going to split the difference. We're going to do 6 and 9. And you don't have to do it this way. You can do a stack the hinge system and then just add your pages like that. But I like adding a little interest. I think that it's neat to have smaller pages and different measurements in there. I think it adds a lot of interest. And then when you're adding your flips and flaps and small pockets, you can just, the possibilities are endless. So 6 by 9 or 6 and 9. So you have a 6-inch page here and a 3-inch page there and a 3-inch spine. I take my Ultra Bond adhesive from ASC Supplies on Etsy. And by the way, this is the Curiouser and Curiouser by Graphic 45 album. I do not have a plan, in case anybody wonders. I just go with the flow. Okay. And I want that to go right in the middle of the spine. And make sure it does not overlap this bend, because if it did, then we would have a mess and the book wouldn't close properly. Okay. Now this page, the next page is going to be, instead of a 3-inch spine here, it's going to be 2.5, depending on what you want between your pages. You can change it up. It does not matter. But again, we're going to cut it 7.5 and keep all those pieces that you cut off, because we can make pockets, we can make more pages, we can make flips and flaps. So another 7.5. And this one, let's do another 6. But then we only need 2.5 between, so 6 and 8.5. And then on this one, I'll put the bigger page in the front to add variety. when you're doing a 6-inch album, you can make them all the, you know, whatever, 6 inches or 5.5, 5.75, whatever you decide to make your pages, you can make them all that, because you'll have enough on the other side. But when you're doing a 8-inch album and you're using 12-inch pieces of paper, you kind of have to split the difference. Okay, and then we'll get some 7.5-inch pages or 7-inch pages in here. Just make sure your pages are straight. Make sure you have about 1/4 inch on each side here. And that Ultrabond adhesive is going to be plenty to hold it into place. Okay, now I have a little bit more to play with as far as page length on either side. So again, I'm going to cut to 7.5. And instead of 6 inches, let's go 7, and then we only need 2 inches for the spine, so we're going to go 7 and 9. Page by page, guys. But if you do all the pages, the base pages at once, it gives you a good idea of what your book's going to look like. So I do recommend doing that. And this is going to give you 1/4 inch gussets, so if you need a bigger gusset, you're going to want to make the differences, the lengths different. I'm going to do the short one on that side and center it up. Yeah, so if you want lots of embellishments, then you'll want to make your spine, your gussets between your pages bigger. Okay. And that one was our 2.5 inches. So our next one is just going to be 2 inches. I hope you guys are following along and why that is. And if you have any questions, let me know. So this one gets cut to 7.5. And we got 2 inches. So let's do, we don't want to go, my biggest page, I don't think I want more than 7.25. I think 7.25, that gives me 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch before it hits the end of the book. So let's do 7.25. That would be our biggest page, and 9.25. And then remember, you can always add to, I just add a big flap to make the pages bigger if I want. So I can add a 7.25 inch page wherever I want by just adding the flap. I hope my lighting is better for you guys. Don't forget to head on over to ASC Supplies on Etsy or asccraftsupplies.com. Use Scrapping Posh 10 for 10% off your normal price purchase. And this one, I think we'll decorate as we go again instead of doing all the pages at once. I'm going to put the big page on this side. Line it up in the middle. Oh, you guys, I already did a 2-incher. This one should have been 1.5 inches. I want to do a 7.25 page. So that we can have a long one over here. And oh, I did it 1 3/4 last time, so I want a 1/2 inch smaller. That's gonna be 1.25. So we're gonna do it at 8. 3/4, and 8. And our pages get bigger because our spine pieces get smaller. It's confusing when you're telling people or explaining people how to do it, but once you start doing it, it's not confusing anymore, the measurements. The big page in the back to even it out a little bit. And then somewhere along the way I made an 1/8 inch gusset, I think. Okay, so now we have 1 inch, and then we're going to do 7.5 inch page for the height, and then we just need 1 inch between, so we can go, let's go 6 and 7. That's going to give me a smaller gusset on either side. But then the next one we're only going to do a 1/2 inch. So that's going to even it out, and it's going to give us a big 1/2 inch gusset in the middle pages where you can do your waterfalls and stuff. That's the idea behind it anyways. And we'll do... I did cut that at 7.5, right? Jeez. I'm gonna put a sticky note. I'm gonna put 7.5 by 7 1/4 so that I don't forget what my base measurements are. Just as big as I want my pages. So I don't make one page like 7 3/4 inches long, and I'm like, why is it like that? It's happened. Okay. One more 7.5 inches. And we'll have our base pages. I did go to Hobby Lobby and I got a little Hobby Lobby haul. They were having some clearance stuff, and the biggest thing that I got was 24-inch papers. So technically, I could do this with, you know, just the one sheet of paper, but, and then you can make them as long as you want. But one, I don't have a cutter that's that long, so it would be hard to keep all the cuts straight. And two, there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. So, okay, we're going to, this one I did 6 and 6.5. Give me that big 1/2 inch gusset in the middle, and gives me 2 decent sized pages, a 6-inch page and a 5.5 inch page. And then we'll be done with our base pages and we can start doing the thing. I haven't decided on my covers yet, and you know that's the first thing that I do so that I don't use all the paper for other things. I do have some, it doesn't matter which one of these goes first, the 6 or the 6.5. I do have some red and black like glitter paper that I thought would be kind of neat. Okay, so here's our book, 8 by 8 by 3 inch spine with all of our pages. And again, if you wanted to extend the pages to make them all the same size, you can. You can make them all pocket pages. We can do whatever we want, but we're going to start like this. This is how I like to start. front covers, if you want to go ahead and use black to mat the insides of the front and back cover, you can. I think I'm just gonna jump right into it and start with some cardstock. Unless I want to put a pocket in the front. Do I want to put a pocket in the front? You know what would be really neat is if I put a shaker on the front. The front in the outside. We'll have to look at that because I have like little cards and stuff, which would be really neat. Okay, so paper. Let's talk about paper real quick because I do mine by color. Here is the front cover that I fussy cut, and I did a little video on that. Then we're going to put this aside because it's the signature page. I'm thinking that I am going to use this for the front cover, and we're probably going to make a shaker. So I'm going to put that aside so we don't use those. This is the gold and black. I like to just size up how much I have so I kind of can see how often I have to do pages. The red and black, which I think there's probably double, and there's some gold in here too. And then the mostly black. So mostly red and black, and then the gold is probably half as much as red and black. So for the back cover, I'm thinking I would like the hearts. And that'll fit perfectly. So back cover hearts. I'm going to put that aside. And spine. What do I want to do for the spine? I could leave it kind of plain. But that's a different size heart, so I don't want to use that. How about I cut a piece of 3, I'm going to make it a little big. I'm going to cut this at 4 inches for the spine. And then I know I'm covered. 4 inches, we'll add this back to the pile here. Okay, so I got my front cover. Mostly thought of my back cover and my spine. I have paper set aside for all those, and we can add embellishments and stuff. Definitely gonna have to do a charm for this one. So now we can get started. And since we're red and black heavy, we're gonna start with the red on the inside. And the good thing about this collection is that if I run out, I can always get more. So the inside cover always measures a little bigger. We're gonna go 8 inches. That'll should get me to very close to the spine, but you don't want to go over the spine. So these 4.5-inch pieces that we cut off while we were making our pages, I'm going to throw it across the room. If I want an 8-inch pocket, we're going to cut it to 9 inches. And then I'm kind of gauging how tall do I actually want that. Let's cut it to 2.5 tall. So there's like there we go, a 9 by 2.5 inch strip. We'll score a 1/2 inch on both sides, and then I want a flap. And we can take another piece of 4.5 inch, and we'll cut it at 7.5. And that's going to give us a good flap. Okay, so our pocket here, or this is our flap. We're going to score, it's 4.5 by 7.5. We're going to score at 7. And whatever it is we stick in that pocket is going to give us, it's going to hold this flap down. Okay. Another 2.5 inch strip. 4.5 inch on both sides. Now on this one, I am going to cover that bottom with another piece of cardstock because it has tape here and I don't want it sticking, so we're just going to add a little bit. Just a 7.5 inch piece. I just used that. What's left over from this. I just don't want those things sticking to the bottom. And when we put our page in there, our pattern paper, it's going to cover so it won't get stuck. Okay, just to cover up that adhesive. Okay, and then this. Glue on both gussets or both sides. And then right down the middle. Super easy pocket. Make sure it's straight. Okay, now you want to put the flap on before you put the pattern paper on so that it covers the flap. And if you wanted to use a decorative punch on the side, you could. What do I have laying here? I have the stub punch laying here. We can stub punch it. You can also use a die if you wanted to use a die. Empty my stub punch. It's got stubs in it. Okay, front cover. Designed. Super simple. Now for the pattern paper, I'm going to cut it to, this is cut to 8, so I'm going to cut it to just under 8. So like a smidge under 8. And I want to go down at least to where I added the cardstock. So let's go down to 6.5. I'm not going to do any distressing on this one, I don't think. I don't think the papers need it. If I did, I guess I would do black. Oh, it's going to be a little too tight. I have to take another smidge off. So I just cut it a 1/16 under, so we'll take another 1/16 off. And my CutterPillar has no problem doing that. just the 16th I cut off. If you're interested in the CutterPillar, I have it linked in my Amazon shop below. Okay. I like using this pattern at the very beginning so that you can see basically all the colors. But it's primarily red, so it's in the red pile. Make sure it's straight. And then for the pocket, let's use I really like this one too. Let's use this pattern for the pocket. So I'm going to cut it at 8 by a little under 2.5. It's already at 8, so I'm going to cut a piece a little under 2.5. Not under enough. Need to take about a 16th off. Okay, make sure the clocks are on upright. And on the front covers, you always have a little bit of space because of the gusset and the spine. So let's see if we can find a chipboard element to go on. Make sure the clocks are correct. Nice pocket. And nice rings, which you can also put in there. These rings are 3 cuts. I think I should. Okay, I did that. 3 cuts. Oh, I feel like it's too soon. I can have just a secret. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, interesting enough, this frame piece, if I put it right in the middle of this pocket, matches up perfectly with this 8 by 8. So obviously meant to be. It's happening. Should I put brads? Let's find some brads to put in. I can glue them on later. I ain't worried about it. Let's say the brads are still downstairs. And I'm just not digging that right now. Get some graphic 45 brads or some wow, I don't believe that's perfect. Maybe even just some little beads or things. I don't know what they're called. Flat back pearls, I guess. Okay, so there's that. I'm laying him down now. I'm going to put my punch on top of it. And this is 7 by, should be 4.5. 4.5. And I think we're going to do red still. I'll take the tone-on-tone pattern and solid. And I'm just leaving an 1/8 of an inch border. So everything that I measure is an 1/8 inch smaller. than what the flap or pocket or whatever is. Okay, and I did the stub punch, so do the stub punch on this. I'll go take a little bit more off just so it has more of a border. I'm leaving white that I'm not liking. Now I'm thinking I should distress it. What do you guys think? Should I distress or no distress? To distress or not to distress? That is the question. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and pick for this side. Let's do... Let's do this one. I will tell you that making your pages like themed by color for me was a huge game changer. Okay, kind of like that though. Too much? Okay, we'll leave the way I thought to begin with. Alright, I know I put the first pages on without distressing them, but I'm going to have to go get the distress stuff and get the black distress out, so I just have to. It's going to drive me nuts if I don't. Got my little mini black distress, black soot, my mini mixy blendy thing here. That's just sitting there to weigh that down. I'll regret this. It's okay. 'Tis a labor of love. I am going to get some cream colored paper out too to use on some of the black and red layouts. I think it'll look nice having that contrast, and for tags and stuff too. Okie dokie. I totally distressed the wrong side of that. Dang it. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay. So just a plain-ish red. You can use the cream to add photo mats too, but I don't want to make it bulky. This may be a nice wedding album, possibly. Oh, doo-doo-doo. Okay, and you want to get that as close to that edge as possible without going over. Give you a nice flap there. And then let's get the cream cardstock. I'll make a nice booklet here. This is a nice big page. We're going to make a nice big booklet for it. We'll do a 6 by 6. So cut your 12-inch cardstock in half. And then score it in half. Nice big booklet, and I'm not going to mat this yet. We're going to leave it cream. And I'll punch tags and such with the deco punch. Okay, and then later on we'll either come and mat that, or we'll put a sticker on it or something, but right now he's just going to sit in there like that. And then we'll also put one of the journaling tags here. I'm going to miss the journaling tags, the pockets. Well, not the pockets, but the journaling tags that come from that came in the packages. Oh, not this one. Yep, I think I will miss those. Okay, so that is the front cover. We're gonna, let's just do this tiny first page here. And then we'll call it a video. I've got to go get my groceries. So let's go ahead and just make this a little lollipop tag. And we'll do that one in red too. So that'll be super simple. I love this red heart paper. Some of my favorite. So this is a little over 3 inches. So we're going to cut this piece at 3. Okay, and then I'm going to take this piece I just have laying here. It measures 4.5. I'm going to cut it down to, it's 4.5 by 4.5. I'm going to cut it down to 4 inches on one side. And then, do I want to cut it? I think I cut it about 3 by 4, so that it's not so, the pocket's not so big. 3 by 4. And then we're going to score it a 1/2 inch on both sides. Ooh. 1/2 inch on both sides. Okay. This page does not measure 3 inches. This page measures 3 1/8 inches. So I'm going to cut 4 1/8. This is one of the ones that I have sitting that we use on the pages. So 4 1/8 by 3. And 1/2 inch. If you don't want to count eighths, just flip it over. 1/2 inch. There we go. Glue on the gussets here and here along the bottom. And then we can cut this guy down to a little under 3. Perfect. Distress. Yeah, I'm glad I distressed. And I'll go back and see if I can get some of the edges on the papers that I already did. So 3 inches here. You don't always have to fill up all the black space or white space or whatever you're making your album out of. I could have totally just put a sticker there and it would have been fine. Just keep that in mind. And then we don't have to cut that one. We just need to distress 3 sides. Oops. Tuck it right in to the pocket. And then we make our little lollipop tag. So I have, these were cut to 6 inches. I want it a little bigger than that, I think. Let's do, this is 6 inches, so we'll leave it at, let's do 7 inches tall. Okay. And then I think if I score, we'll try and score it at 3 inches, but I think it'll be too big, but we can cut it down. So score it at 3. Just gotta be careful. I'm working with black distress ink and cream paper. Yeah, I'm just gonna cut a 1/4 inch off of that. So cut it down to 2 3/4 while folded in half. That's better. And then deco punch the corners. And then this one I am going to put a sticker on, I think. Let's look at the stickers. These are nice chipboard or cardstock stickers. They're not as thick as the chipboard, but they're a decent thickness here. So let's see. That's some nice borders I could actually utilize now even. Let's go with something kind of simple. Let's go with this guy here. Don't know how sticky Graphic 45 cardstock stickers are, so we'll just add a bit of glue. And there we go. And then I want to add a dark border sticker there, or one of the things that I cut from the cardstock Let's see. Oh, that one's too wide. I see these are this. I cut these from the signature. This is what I was looking for. So I cut these from the signature sheet. And because I can't cut a straight line to save my life without my cutter, I'll cut that to 3 inches on the cutter. And distress it. Okay guys, so this is going to be it for this video. There'll be lots of videos to follow because these things take some time to do. So I hope you are enjoying yourself and this series will interest you. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. Head on over to ASC Supplies on Etsy or AFCcraftsupplies.com. Use Scrapping Posh 10 for 10% off your normal price purchase. And if you want to see me struggle to try and distress the stuff that I already put on there, I'll do that now. But for all of you that are done watching, we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Okay, so I put this on and then I decided I was distressing. So in order to get these corners to kind of match everything else, I'm going to try not to get it all over the page, but just along the outside. Definitely taking all the cream colored everything out. That doesn't look so bad. This one wasn't bad to begin with. Okay.